Ander stands outside the dark spire of the swamp area, in the trial of the nation's secret realm. He is surrounded by the corpses of the monsters he just slaughtered. His burning wings spread behind him, radiating heat, while his massive axe drips with the remains of his enemies. Every beast that dared to approach lies in pieces at his feet. Yet despite clearing the entire area, the gate refuses to open. Confusion sets in. He wonders, shouldn't the third wave of beasts be here by now, or if the system break, or is it just messing with him? Before he gets an answer, flames burst from the dark spire, followed by a deafening explosion. The entire structure trembles, cracks running up its length as fire engulfs it from within. The sheer force of the blast knocks Ander off his feet. He groans, pushes himself up, and tries to make sense of the chaos. What in the world just happened? 5 minutes later, the truth steps out of the collapsing spire. Lu Fan emerges looking as relaxed as ever, accompanied by his legendary black dragon lady, Xiao Ye. She's still in her destructive form, carrying half of what used to be the demon of 9 realms. The demon, or what's left of it, dangles limply in her claws, a clear sign that whatever battle took place inside ended very, very badly for him. Lu Fan surveys the battlefield and nods. Ander, as expected, has wiped out everything outside. Xiao Ye, not one for theatrics, casually tosses the demon's head towards Ander. The thing lands with a thud at his feet, eyes still frozen in a look of absolute horror. Lu Fan finally acknowledges his friend, calling out to him and checking if he's still breathing. Ander turns around, spotting Lu Fan. Relief mixes with disbelief. Of course it is him, and of course he's still ridiculously overpowered. His gaze drops to the severed head. This thing. Would you miss it? Before he can process the situation, a notification pops up, glowing ominously. The demon is not fully dead. It can revive in 10 minutes with 10% health. Its attack power will double, but its defense will drop by 200%. It will also lose life every second. The countdown shows 4 minutes left. Ander stares at the notification, then back at the severed head. So the demon isn't completely dead. Ander stares at the severed head, tilting his head in confusion. The thing looks ridiculously weird, like a failed experiment gone horribly wrong. Before he gets too lost in thought, Lu Fan snaps him out of it, reminding him that this isn't just some ugly trophy, it is the head of Earth Demon, and it won't stay lifeless for long. If he doesn't act fast, the resurrection will trigger. Ander blinks, still processing. Wait a minute, Lu Fan is just handing him the points. That's suspiciously generous. Lu Fan smirks, making it clear that every single point inside the spire already belongs to him. If he takes out this demon again, Ander's mission will never be completed. Realization dawns on Ander and gratitude replaces his skepticism. True friends don't just help each other, they let each other steal a final hit for maximum rewards. With a grin, he lifts his massive flaming axe, not wasting another second. In one clean strike, he finishes off what's left of the Earth Demon of 9 realms. A notification flashes across the screen. Interruption, death, and rebirth. By morning, the chaos of battle is gone, replaced by the quiet crackling of a campfire. The swamp, once filled with roars and explosions, now serves as a resting place for the victors. Ander leans back, stretching his arms, completely satisfied. Having Lu Fan as a friend? Absolute luck. The task completion alone rewarded him with 200,000 points, bumping him up to rank 2. A screen appears before Ander, displaying his updated stats. His name stands at the top, followed by his nation's snow. His level has risen to 61 Flame Warrior. His total points now amount to 271,229, securing him the position of rank 2 in the competition. Lu Fan glances at him and comments that their temporary squad ends here. The alliance was fun while it lasted, but this is still the nation's trial. Sooner or later, they return to being rivals. Ander sighs, knowing Lu Fan is right. If they had met before this whole competition, he definitely would have taken him out for a nice drink instead of chopping through endless waves of monsters. Lu Fan, always the optimist, assures him that there will be another chance. Ander grins and extends his hand for a handshake. This is a promise now. Once the nation's trial ends, they celebrate with a big drink, no excuses. Lu Fan meets his handshake with confidence. A promise is a promise. Ander laughs, declaring it official. No one backs out now. Ander opens his point window, then glances at Lu Fan, suddenly remembering something important. Without hesitation, he transfers a chunk of his points and tells Lu Fan to accept them. A notification pops up on Lu Fan's screen, confirming the transfer, 50,000 points received from Ander. He raises an eyebrow, confused. Why is he getting free points now? Ander grins, rubbing the back of his head. After eating so much of Lu Fan's food, messing with his PV battles, and now getting a free mission boost, he figures he owes at least this much. Sure, 50,000 points probably mean nothing to someone like Lu Fan, But it is the thought that counts. Lu Fan smirks. Seeing Andrew all flustered over a simple point transfer is a rare sight. Not wanting to ruin the moment, he accepts them without protest. Andrew laughs, then shifts gears to something that's been on his mind. With Lu Fan's ridiculous strength and his army of overpowered dragon pets, why is he even bothering with those weaklings? A few hits would solve everything instantly, right? Lu Fan shakes his head. These so-called weaklings are actually the new elites from different nations. Some of them possess rare hidden professions he hasn't encountered before. This is the perfect opportunity to study their abilities, learn from their techniques, and expand his knowledge. It is not a waste of time because in the end, he will be the one standing at the top. Andrew groans, rolling his eyes. There it is again, that classic cool talk. Always so composed, always thinking 10 steps ahead. No way he's falling behind now. Time to pick up some tasks and start stacking points again. With a wave, he takes off, already fired up for his next mission. Lu Fan watches him leave, chuckling to himself. Andrew isn't bad at all. Hopefully, the system doesn't throw a PvP mission at him that requires hunting him down. Shrugging off the thought, he turns back to more pressing matters. His fallen puppet army has just gained new recruits. Xiaoyai lets out a powerful roar, marking the start of their next move. Meanwhile, inside the command room of the nation's trial arena, a massive screen displays the updated rankings of the nation's trial participants. Rank 1. Dragon Nation, Lu Fan, 1,300,135 points. Rank 2. Snow Nation, Andrew, 271,229 points. Rank 3. Taiki Nation, Jin Chenghen, 160,964 points. Rank 4. Star Nation, Charles, 129,883 points. One of the Snow Nation officials practically jumps with excitement. Andrew's rise to rank 2 is no small feat. Overtaking Star Nation is something to celebrate. His booming laughter fills the room, his pride nearly bursting at the seams. Another official steps in with congratulations, impressed by the success of Andrew. If someone from Snow Nation can defeat the Nine Realms demon, then maybe, just maybe, it isn't an impossible task after all. A third official, clearly less impressed, crosses his arms. It is nice to be hopeful, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Andrew wouldn't have pulled this off without Lu Fan. That much is obvious. Another man nods in agreement. If the other representatives get stuck on this mission, no way they're getting through it alone. Not unless they have a Lu Fan of their own. Spoiler alert, they don't. The realization finally sinks in. The official from Snow Nation quickly straightens up and makes his way to Elder Han, representing Dragon Nation. With a deep bow, he expresses Snow Nation's gratitude, acknowledging Lu Fan's indirect help. If not for him, Andrew wouldn't be standing at rank 2 right now. Elder Han chuckles, clearly enjoying the moment. Andrew is the kind of guy who helps others in need, always pulling his own weight. That alone makes him worthy of respect. The atmosphere shifts as another official points out the real consequence of this ranking shift. At this pace, Taiki Nation, the host country, is about to drop to rank 3. Before anyone can process that, one of the men, clearly lacking survival instincts, blurts it out loud. Another official immediately smacks his arm, whispering harshly, "Sam, shut up. Hasn't he noticed that Mr. Jin Zan has been completely silent for a while now?" Silence spreads through the room. The realization hits. If Jin Zan isn't saying anything, it can only mean one thing: he is not happy. From the sidelines, Jin Zan, the event organizer and the highest official of Taiki Nation, watches the murmuring and gossiping unfold around him. His expression remains unreadable, but inside, frustration boils over. Andrew, of all people, has surpassed Jin Chenghen, a guy built like a war machine, but with the strategic depth of a puddle, has now climbed to rank 2. If Star Nation makes another push, Taiki Nation might not even hold onto rank 3. Shouting at subordinates hasn't worked. Manipulating tasks hasn't helped. Even tweaking the Nine Realms demon count has done nothing to slow them down. Every trick, every desperate attempt to control the trial has backfired spectacularly. His phone won't stop buzzing. Higher-ups are flooding him with messages, each one more infuriating than the last. Another report arrives, another Nine Realms demon has been taken down. Then a demand: "What's going on? You swore you had this under control." The next message stings: "Taiki Nation just dropped to 3rd place. Another embarrassment under your watch." And finally, the threat: "This is your final warning. If you can't handle Lu Fan, you know exactly what's coming." His grip tightens around the phone. He knows exactly what they mean. If he doesn't turn this around, his position and possibly his entire career is finished. A thought surfaces. There's only one method left. Before he can dwell on it further, a subordinate rushes up to him, visibly anxious. He insists that Jin Zan follow him immediately. Annoyance flashes across his face. He has no patience for interruptions. What could possibly be so urgent right now? The subordinate hesitates for a second before blurting it out. The scroll has been completed. Jin Zan's frustration vanishes in an instant. His expression shifts from irritation to something much darker. Finally, the last method can now be implemented. Without wasting another second, he orders his subordinate to lead the way. This time, things will change. It is day 3 of the nation's trial. Jin Zan glares at his subordinates, demanding confirmation. The weight of the situation presses down on him, and he refuses to tolerate incompetence at this stage. One of his men steps forward, clutching a black box as if it holds the fate of the entire nation, because in a way it does. He nods, assuring Jin Zan that the job is done. Thanks to the back door secretly placed during the design of the secret realm, their plan has reached completion. With careful hands, he opens the black box. Inside lies a single scroll, ancient in appearance but recently crafted under extreme pressure. The process was rushed, leaving no time for a thorough inspection. It might have issues, but the master of enhancement professions has verified that it is functional probably. A system notification flashes across the screen. Trial of the Nation. Consumable scroll, it can open a portal to a designated location within the Trial of the Nation's secret realm for 90 seconds. However, there is a note. This scroll is an experimental product created under urgent conditions. The portal may be extremely unstable. Immediate use is recommended. Under no circumstances should knowledge of this item be leaked. Jin Zan picks up the scroll, scanning the words carefully. The phrase extremely unstable catches his attention. A slight twitch forms at the corner of his eye. Of course, nothing can ever be simple. His options, however, are running out, and hesitation is a luxury he cannot afford. One of his subordinates steps forward, reporting that they have been monitoring Lu Fan from the back end for an extended period. No unusual activity has been detected. Jin Zan's patience snaps. His subordinates, yet again, prove themselves useless. Expecting to catch Lu Fan slipping was foolish. That man is too smart, too calculated. No evidence, no mistakes, no way to expose him. Only one solution remains. He gives his orders without hesitation. 2 subordinates must guard the hallway and ensure no one approaches until he returns. His bald-headed minion immediately acknowledges the command with the enthusiasm of someone eager to stay in his boss's good books. The other hesitates, then cautiously asks if Jin Zan is truly planning to go through with this. Before he can finish the question, Jin Zan cuts him off. There is no room for doubt. He is personally entering the secret realm to handle matters himself. Jin Zan wastes no time and activates the scroll instantly. A massive portal erupts before him, its swirling energy crackling with instability. The system notification appears, confirming its activation. Portal established. Trial of the Nation's secret realm. The desert. Notice. The portal is extremely unstable and may close at any moment. The swirling vortex flickers erratically, proving just how rushed and unpredictable this so-called experimental item truly is. One of his subordinates steps forward, panic written all over his face. This is far too dangerous. The scroll was hastily created, untested, and unpredictable. Anything could happen. The bald subordinate, never missing an opportunity to state the obvious, chimes in with another concern. If other overseers notice Jin Zan's sudden appearance, or if he gets caught on a live broadcast, the consequences will be disastrous. Nothing screams corruption like an event organizer secretly sneaking into the battlefield. Jin Zan, already anticipating their concerns, remains unfazed. He has already taken precautions. The main controller and the director have been notified. No footage of the desert map will be aired until he returns. There will be no leaks, no evidence, and no questions. Another system notification appears. Portal duration, 90 seconds. Time is running out. He turns to his subordinates one last time, issuing his final instructions. This location must remain secure at all costs. If anyone discovers what is happening here, Taikyu Nation's reputation will take a nosedive. Every move from this point on must be handled with absolute discretion. His subordinates immediately acknowledge the order, their expressions tense but obedient. Jin Zan hesitates for just a moment before adding one last command. There is one more thing that must be done. Activate the ultimate mission. Lu Fan is already on the hunt for 9 Realms demon missions. Time is slipping away and every second counts. The pieces are in motion. Now everything depends on execution. Lu Fan, accompanied by his legendary Black Dragon lady, Xiao Ye, arrives in the vast desert of the Trial of the Nation's secret realm. His system interface lights up, confirming the latest challenge. The system registers the current mission as subjugating the Earth Demon, an epic boss at level 85. A notification appears, stating that the task has been accepted and the objective is set. He looks up, spotting the dark spire standing ominously ahead. No need to waste time searching for it. The target has already revealed itself. Xiao Yai also reacts, sensing the unusual convenience of the situation. Lu Fan reflects that competition rules dictate that high-point missions should be rare occurrences. Yet, this now marks his third consecutive mission involving a Nine Realms demon. The probability of such a sequence occurring naturally remains far too suspicious. Without hesitation, he instructs Xiao Yai to head toward the Dark Spire. A nagging feeling settles in his mind. These missions do not feel random. Every objective appears carefully arranged, placed in his path with clear intent. Riding on Xiao Yai, he moves forward, but within moments, a massive wave of monsters bursts into sight, blocking the path. The sight barely surprises him. The competition hosted by Taiki Nation continues to expose its hidden tricks. Flying monsters release piercing growls, their eyes locked onto their target, preparing to strike. Lu Fan remains unfazed. If Taiki Nation insists on throwing obstacles in his way, then the only logical response is to smash through them. Without hesitation, he calls upon Xiaofi and Xingqian, declaring that their break is officially over. Lu Fan commands Xingqian to activate Star Shuttle. Instantly, the Star Dragon shifts into star-like form, unleashing a roar that shakes the battlefield. His body glows with cosmic energy, radiating power as space itself bends around him. The system registers the transformation, remaining time in stellar form, 59 seconds. A notification confirms the activation of Star Shuttle. This ability tears through space to generate a portal leading directly to the target location. The system notes that the portal remains active for 60 seconds and remains unaffected by any barriers, formations, or curses. A shimmering portal erupts in front of them, distorting the air around it. Without hesitation, Lu Fan and his dragons enter, bypassing the horde of monsters waiting outside the Dark Spire. The system updates the countdown. Time left for Star Shuttle: 59 seconds. Inside the Dark Spire, Lu Fan lands effortlessly. Xiao Yai, Xia Fei, and Xingqian lined up behind him like an unstoppable force. The air stinks of decay, and the place is crawling with monsters. Their glowing eyes track the intruders, but none of them dare to move yet. At the center of it all, the Demon of Nine Realms lounges on its throne, looking as lazy as a washed-up villain who has been sitting around for centuries with nothing better to do. Its clawed fingers tap against the armrest, its smug expression radiating overconfidence. A deep voice rumbles through the spire, filled with arrogance. The demon wastes no time throwing out the usual threats, acting as if Lu Fan just made the biggest mistake of his life by stepping inside. The system scans the creature and displays its attributes. Lu Fan steps forward, barely paying attention to the inflated stats. Strength over 40,000, agility meant for dodging, endurance high enough to drag out a fight. None of it will save this oversized dirt monster from getting wrecked. His legendary sword appears in his grip, glowing with pure power. Dragon Ki surges through him, merging with his black dragon. The ground trembles under his presence. The monsters shrink back, sensing what's about to happen. Earth Seat, Lishi. A deep, obedient voice answers without hesitation. Understood, Master. The air turns heavy. The Earth Demon, still playing king on its dusty throne, now faces a reality it never prepared for. Lu Fan activates natural assimilation, Dragon's command, summoning two of his most fearsome allies, life-destroying Puppeteer Dragon and Corpse Puppeteer Dragon. Their levels instantly match his, making them just as powerful as he is. In the next moment, the twin corpse dragons emerge from the shadows, their presence radiating death itself. Without hesitation, Lu Fan casts Puppet Control, a skill that grants him full command over all undead creatures converted by the fallen corpse Emperor Dragon. This ability allows him to summon or withdraw them at will. Any undead slain in battle will return to the fallen dragon's energy pool, ensuring endless reinforcements. The two Nine Realms demons he subdued earlier rise once more, their bodies no longer under their own control. The dark energy surrounding them makes it clear these so-called rulers are now nothing more than Lu Fan's puppets. With his army fully assembled, he wastes no time. His voice cuts through the spire, calling on his dragons and demons to finish the battle quickly. Time is precious, and he has no interest in dragging this out longer than necessary. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the secret realm, far from the Dark Spire, the situation looks very different for Uspan from Miko country. Fear grips his entire body as he stumbles backward, his hands raised in pure desperation. He pleads for his life, begging the opponent before him to spare him. Uspan stands at level 59, tribal warrior with 42,172 points, ranked 14th. His opponent, standing over him with a twisted grin, is none other than Musashi 10 of Sakura country. Musashi watches him, amusement flickering in his cold eyes. The blade of his sword presses lightly against Uspan's neck, just enough to remind him that mercy is not an option here. The system displays Musashi's stats. Level 60, Ghost Warrior with 105,532 points, currently ranked 5th. Uspan desperately offers everything he has. His points, his pride, his match, anything as long as Musashi lets him go. Musashi, unfazed, seems to enjoy the pathetic display. He clearly believes that begging for mercy is just another form of entertainment. Musashi watches Uspen with boredom, his patience wearing thin. The thrill of hunting a weaker opponent fades fast, and he bluntly points out how dull this has become. He could just end it now, take the points and move on, but that wouldn't be nearly as fun. A new idea crosses his mind and his grin widens. He lifts his sword and presses the tip against the face of Uspen. The terrified warrior stiffens, his breath hitching as Musashi lays out his next demand. Survival comes at a price. Uspen must lick his shoe and publicly disgrace his entire nation by shouting that the people of Miko country are nothing more than pigs and dogs. Uspen flinches, his voice breaking as he refuses. The thought alone disgusts him, but his refusal earns an immediate reaction. Musashi's amusement vanishes, replaced by cold irritation. He leans in, questioning whether Uspen really thinks he has a choice. Panic floods Uspen's eyes. His resolve shatters, replaced by sheer desperation. He crumbles instantly, apologizing and swearing he will do it, anything to be spared. His knees hit the ground as he forces the words out, shame twisting his face. Musashi isn't satisfied. He orders him to be louder, making sure the humiliation is complete. Uspen obeys, raising his voice, declaring in front of the system and the world that his people are nothing but animals. Musashi bursts into laughter, completely entertained by the pitiful display. Watching a proud warrior break down like this is better than he expected. He mocks Uspen, pointing out how quickly he abandoned his pride the moment death became real. Before he can savor his victory any longer, a sudden purple shadow hand rips through Uspen's chest, ending him instantly. A system notification pops up, Uspen from Miko Nation eliminated. 1 out of 23 remaining. Musashi's smug grin disappears as shock replaces it. He spins around, eyes narrowing at the one responsible. Annoyance flashes across his face. The culprit? None other than the walking buzzkill himself, Jin Chengyan. Musashi shouts at him, furious that his entertainment was cut short. He wasn't done yet, and now the points are stolen right from under him. Jin Chengyan is currently ranked third, just behind Lu Fan and Andra, and he doesn't look the least bit guilty. His total points now stand at 160,964, with the additional 42,175 from Uspen. He is the representative of Taiki Nation and holds the title of Abyss Summoner, standing at level 61. Jin Chengyan responds with nothing but cold logic. Uspen was dead either way, and everyone knew Musashi had no intention of letting him go. Musashi scowls, clearly annoyed. Killing Uspen was inevitable, but the method mattered. Stealing the points, now that was just unforgivable. Jin Chengyan doesn't care. He states bluntly that points were never the goal. The mission still needs to be completed, and wasting time playing the prey is nothing but a distraction. Musashi, still annoyed but curious, asks about the mission. Jin Chengyan shuts him down with a sharp command to stay quiet and listen. Before Musashi can argue, a portal flickers to life in front of them, and out steps Jin Zan. The smug expression of Jin Chengyan falters for a moment, clearly surprised. He questions Jin Zan, wondering if the Overseer has some urgent news that couldn't wait. The system chimes in with a warning, letting Jin Zan know the portal is unstable and could collapse any second. Musashi, meanwhile, is completely baffled. He stares at Jin Zan, trying to process how someone could just waltz into the middle of the competition like this. He blurts out his disbelief, questioning if this is even allowed. Jin Zan, of course, looks as calm as ever, probably enjoying the chaos he just caused. Meanwhile, Musashi is probably mentally drafting a complaint to the competition committee about unfair portal usage. Meanwhile, Lu Fan and his dragons are locked in an intense battle with the third demon of the 9 realms, the Earthblood Demon. This level 85 monstrosity is not just big and scary, it is also throwing a full-blown tantrum. Its aura pulses with raw power, sending shockwaves through the spire that could probably knock over a small mountain. The Earthblood Demon has 3 devastating attacks up its sleeve, and it is not shy about using them. First, there's the Phantom Tiger Step. This move lets the demon transform into multiple transparent tiger illusions that pop up randomly around its targets. Each illusion explodes on contact, dealing massive area of effect magic damage. It is like a fireworks show, except the fireworks are trying to kill you. Next up is the Thunderclaw Strike. The demon slams its thunder-charged claws into the ground, leaving behind glowing thunderclaw marks. After a brief delay, these marks erupt into massive electric shockwaves, frying everything in the area and slowing down anyone unlucky enough to be caught in it by 70% for 10 seconds. The third attack, Soul Hunting Tiger, is the real nightmare. If the demon lands this one, it tears its target's soul into fragments, temporarily reducing their maximum health and cutting their healing effects by 30%. Right now, the Earth Blood Demon decides to show off its Thunderclaw strike. It slams its claws into the ground and the air crackles with electricity as Thunderclaw marks spread across the battlefield. In response, the second demon of the Nine Realms, who now serves Lu Fan, unleashes Death Coil. Its body and limbs twist unnaturally, stretching into chains that wrap tightly around its enemies, locking them in place. The effect is brutal. Paralysis sets, and instantly poison seeps through their veins and stun effects render them helpless. The tearing damage from the demonic limbs stacks rapidly, turning resistance into a losing battle. The third demon of the Nine Realms recoils in shock. Confusion flashes across its monstrous face as it struggles to comprehend the betrayal. It stammers, demanding answers from the second demon, unable to process why one of its own would turn against it. It never gets the chance to understand. Before it can react, the first demon of the Nine Realms materializes, moving with lethal precision. Without hesitation, it unleashes Bloodblade Claw, its massive claws slicing through the air with terrifying speed. Each swing tears into the third demon's flesh, dealing catastrophic damage. A surge of power courses through the first demon, increasing its damage strength by 200% for the next 12 seconds. The third demon of the Nine Realms stands no chance. Its body, ravaged and broken, crashes violently to the ground. Heavily injured and gasping for breath, it stares in disbelief at the first demon, barely managing to stutter its final words before death claims it. A system notification flashes. Dragon Nation's Lu Fan gains 1,300,135 points, with an additional 436,718. Lu Fan takes a moment to marvel at yet another overwhelming victory. He reflects on the power of the demons now under his control. If just two of the Nine Realms demons are this strong, the idea of all nine attacking at once is nothing short of terrifying. A smirk creeps onto his face. Behind him, his twin corpse dragons unleash a deafening roar, their sheer presence shaking the dark spire. Every remaining monster inside the spire, including the third demon's corpse, quivers under the force of their power. One by one, the fallen rise again, not as enemies, but as loyal servants. Their lifeless eyes now glow with eerie submission, bound to Lu Fan's will. Lu Fan muses over the irony of the situation. The Taiki Kingdom, so confident in their schemes, never anticipated that their own machinations would hand him an unstoppable army. He contemplates the chaos he could unleash. If he releases this demon horde now, the panic it would cause would be nothing short of legendary. Jin Chang'an rides atop his abyss summon, moving at an incredible speed, cutting through the secret realm like a shadow in the wind. Musashi, however, clings desperately to his cloak, clearly regretting every life choice that led him to this moment. Panic floods his voice as he yells at Jin Chang'an to slow down, his complaints growing louder by the second. Jin Chang'an, visibly irritated, snaps at him to be quiet, already feeling a headache forming from his whining. Musashi, struggling to hold on, shifts his focus to something else. He asks if the Overseer already revealed the location of the ultimate mission, then why aren't they heading straight for it? The hesitation makes no sense. Jin Chang'an dismisses the idea instantly. It is not time yet. His mind drifts back to his conversation with the Overseer, Jin Zan. Zan had kept it brief, wasting no time on pleasantries. The teleportation array was unstable, forcing him to deliver the information quickly before disappearing again. Musashi, still reeling from the situation, couldn't believe the sheer audacity of the Taiki Kingdom. Sending an Overseer into the secret realm was beyond shameless. It was outright cheating. Jin Chang'an had cut straight to the point. The points Lu Fan accumulated felt completely rigged. If Taiki was so desperate to control the competition, why not just disqualify him outright? Jin Zan had shut that idea down immediately. The rules of the secret realm were functioning normally, with no irregularities. There was no valid excuse to forcibly remove Lu Fan. Grinding monsters and completing small quests wouldn't be enough to catch up. If they wanted to close the gap, they needed to uncover Lu Fan's secret. The Dragon Nation representative was farming the Dark Spire at an insane rate, and if he could do it, so could they. Before the teleportation array collapsed, Jin Zan left him with one final piece of advice. The ultimate mission had been activated. How they used it would determine everything. Jin Chang'an knew exactly what that meant. The ultimate mission wasn't meant for Lu Fan. The real target was Charles Xian. Wasting it now would be pointless. First, they needed to track down a Dark Spire and figure out how Lu Fan managed to take down the Nine Realms demons. The ultimate mission didn't work like a regular quest. It directly locked onto the top-ranked player on the leaderboard as its target. Using it too soon would be reckless. The real value came from waiting until it could be unleashed on the strongest. Musashi finally gives in, admitting that Jin Chang'an is in charge now. Still, he can't resist taking a jab at Taiki Kingdom, pointing out that all their so-called skills seem to revolve around cheating rather than actual strength. Jin Chengyan stops abruptly, and the sudden halt sends Musashi flying off, landing face-first on the ground. Musashi groans, immediately accusing Jin Chengyan of being vindictive. Was that kind of retaliation really necessary over a single comment? Jin Chengyan ignores the whining and points ahead. Musashi follows his gaze, and the sight in front of them sends a chill down his spine. A group of towering heavenly demon soldiers, fallen corpses, each at level 75 with 165 points, stand in formation, gripping a massive iron chain. Musashi instantly recognizes the ominous atmosphere surrounding them. This is the Dark Spire. The air feels heavy, oppressive, like an unseen force pressing down on everything. Jin Chengyan remains unfazed. He reassures Musashi, confident that their strength is more than enough to handle whatever comes next. Something still doesn't sit right, though. The Nine Realms demon army seems small. It doesn't add up. Musashi doesn't dwell on the thought. His focus sharpens as he unsheathes his swords, eager to test himself against these ancient warriors. He smirks, eager to see just how strong this so-called demon army really is, especially since it once brought ruin to Jin Chengyan's precious Taiki kingdom. A deep purple aura erupts around him, and in the blink of an eye, his entire form shifts. His armor materializes, wrapping around him in a menacing design, and his mask clicks into place, radiating pure intimidation. The moment is brief. His swords cut through the air as he unleashes Ghost Scythe Demon Slash, sending high-speed rotating wind blades slicing through the battlefield. The attack carves through multiple heavenly demon soldiers with ruthless precision, cutting them clean in half before they can even react. Jin Chengyan watches, unimpressed. His mind remains fixated on Lu Fan. He wonders if it was due to the dragon pet or a lucky exploit. If it weren't for the loopholes, there's no way Lu Fan could have taken on the Dark Spire alone. Without another word, he moves into action. His abyss summon engulfs the battlefield in darkness, and he begins grabbing the soldiers one by one, effortlessly sealing them within it. He doesn't just want to defeat Lu Fan, he wants to prove that whatever Lu Fan can do, he can do better. Musashi and Jin Chengyan make quick work of the remaining heavenly demon soldiers. Their attacks tear through the battlefield, and soon nothing remains but silence and scattered remains. Musashi checks the system screen, expecting a massive boost in points. His eyes narrow as confusion takes over. Nothing has changed. Every monster has been wiped out, yet his points remain exactly the same. Jin Chengyan quickly catches on. Something isn't right. Clearing this many enemies should have reflected immediately, but the system stays silent. He decides there's only one way to figure this out. They need to go inside and see for themselves. A single thought lingers in his mind. What exactly did Lu Fan discover in here? They step into the Dark Spire, moving cautiously. The deeper they go, the stranger it feels. Musashi glances around, puzzled by the eerie emptiness. There are no monsters. Not a single one. Jin Chengyan considers the possibility that someone else has already cleared the area. If that's the case, then where are the signs of battle? The spire is too silent, too untouched. A sudden noise echoes through the darkness. Musashi's instincts kick in. He grips his swords tightly and calls out to whoever or whatever is lurking in the shadows. His body tenses, ready for combat. Jin Chengyan doesn't hesitate either. His abyss summon coils around him, prepared for any sudden attack. But neither of them are ready for what happens next. From the darkness, figures emerge, 3 demons of the 9 realms. Not 1, 3. Both warriors freeze. Their minds struggle to process what they are seeing. This shouldn't be possible. The sheer presence of these demons weighs down on them, suffocating, relentless. Sweat beads on their foreheads as reality sinks in. They have messed up. Badly. The demons stand before them, their menacing gazes locking onto their next victims. Jin Chengyan and Musashi stare in horror, their eyes widening, their bravado instantly fading. The situation has taken a sharp turn, and for the first time, neither of them feel like the ones in control. Jin Chengyan stares at the monstrous figures in front of him, his voice barely steady as he stammers the obvious. 3 demons of the 9 realms stand before them. His mind races, struggling to make sense of the situation. Musashi clenches his fists, trying to keep his composure. The sheer pressure radiating from these demons is unlike anything he has faced before. The air feels suffocating, pressing down on them like an invisible weight. Jin Chengyan refuses to believe this is real. Something isn't adding up. This shouldn't be happening. Before he can process further, a voice cuts through the tension. Lu Fan steps into view, his presence calm and deliberate. His eyes hold no surprise, only amusement. He hadn't expected them to find this place so soon. Jin Chengyan snaps his head toward him, disbelief flashing in his eyes. Lu Fan here. Musashi, still recovering from the overwhelming presence of the demons, barely contains his shock. Of all people, Lu Fan has the nerve to show up now. Lu Fan remains unfazed. He doesn't see this as a coincidence. He came here for them. They ambushed his carefully built base, and he isn't one to let things slide. He explains his strategy, revealing the true power behind his growing army. The more fallen corpse puppets he collects, the more skilled he becomes at controlling them. His ability has evolved far beyond basic commands, and out through the 9 realms' demons, he can direct his forces to hunt even beyond the Spire. Each demon commands an entire army, essentially tripling his reach, points, and experience gain. The soldiers roam freely, gather resources, and eliminate threats, while the 9 realms' demons remain stationed inside the Dark Spire, guarding it like an impenetrable fortress. Musashi scoffs, dismissing his confidence as pure arrogance. If he really came for them, then he walked straight into his own death. The system screen flashes, displaying the current stats of Lu Fan. He currently has 1,736,853 points and is ranked number 1. Musashi's eyes lock onto that ridiculous point count. A slow smirk spreads across his face as he turns to Jin Chengyan. Taking down Lu Fan now means a massive payout. They just need to decide how to split the points once they're done with him. Jin Chengyan, however, isn't so quick to rush in. He reminds Musashi that Lu Fan holds a personal grudge against him. Killing him outright would be too easy, too merciful. He wants him to suffer first. Still, his mind stays focused on the real problem. Lu Fan might be simple to deal with, but the 9 realms' demons are not. One alone would be a nightmare to handle. Facing 3 at once, that's an entirely different level of danger. There's only one explanation. Lu Fan wouldn't have entered the Spire alone unless he already had a way to win without fighting the 9 realms' demons directly. Whatever trick he's using, they need to figure it out and fast. Lu Fan watches them argue, completely unbothered. They stand in front of him, treating him like a side character in his own story, casually planning how to divide his points. Their arrogance is almost amusing. Jin Chengyan, still convinced of his control over the situation, throws out an offer. If Lu Fan reveals the secret behind the Dark Spire, they might consider sparing his life. Musashi immediately dismisses the idea, calling it a waste of time. Negotiation serves no purpose. Capturing Lu Fan first and forcing the answers out of him sounds like a much better plan. Lu Fan smirks at their foolishness. They actually believe he found some broken exploit to farm points. The thought alone is laughable. Jin Chengyan remains persistent. The points of Lu Fan are absurdly high. Nothing they encountered inside the Spire explains how he accumulated so many. They fought 2 waves of gatekeeper beasts on the way in, and now the place is empty. Something doesn't add up. Musashi, growing impatient, refuses to believe a low-level job changer could clear the Dark Spire alone. Nobody is that naive. Lu Fan tilts his head slightly, mocking their ignorance. They claim there is nothing inside the Spire, yet 3 9 realms demons stand right behind them. Jin Chengyan stiffens, his gut twists with unease. The 9 realms demons remain motionless, too silent, too still. Logically, intruders should have triggered an attack the moment they stepped inside. This isn't normal. The only explanation is one he refuses to acknowledge. If the 9 realms demons aren't attacking, then someone is controlling them. Lu Fan turns their own corruption against them. If such an easy point farming trick existed, the Taiki Kingdom would have abused it long ago. They alter system quests whenever they feel like it, bending the rules to cheat their way forward. Jin Chengyan's confidence cracks and he reflects. Lu Fan knows and has figured out they're tampering with the trial. If he truly commands the 9 realms demons, then this battle is already lost. Musashi, unwilling to waste another second listening to Lu Fan, urges Jin Chengyan to stop talking and attack immediately. His patience runs dry. Both swords in hand, he shifts into full battle gear and launches himself at Lu Fan with reckless confidence. Lu Fan watches the incoming attack with nothing but amusement. His voice drips with mock pity. His hard-earned points accumulated through relentless hunting are dismissed so casually. If they refuse to believe the reality in front of them, then he has no problem proving it. He snaps his fingers. In an instant, all 3 demons of the 9 realms lunge forward, their overwhelming power crashing down on Musashi and Jin Chengyan. The air trembles with their combined presence. Both warriors freeze. The attack blindsides them completely. Jin Chengyan's confidence shatters. He yells at Musashi to retreat, his survival instincts kicking in. Musashi, still in denial, shouts in shock. Lu Fan actually commands the 9 realms demons. This shouldn't be possible. Jin Chengyan, running like a panicked chicken, refuses to accept what's happening. He convinces himself that this must be a bug. The system has to be broken. No one should be able to control these demons, especially not Lu Fan. His mind spirals into disbelief. The trial they spent so much time manipulating, the one they designed for the Taiki Kingdom's benefit, has turned against them. What was meant to be their greatest advantage now belongs to Lu Fan. Before they can escape, the second demon of the Nine Realms materializes in front of them. Their momentum halts instantly. Without hesitation, the second demon unleashes Death Coil. Its body and limbs stretch unnaturally, twisting into monstrous chains that lash out, wrapping around both warriors. The effect is immediate. Paralysis sets in, poison seeps into their bodies, and the stun effect locks them in place. The tearing damage from the demonic limbs stacks rapidly, amplifying their agony with every passing second. The impact is devastating. Both are sent flying and crashing to the ground with brutal force. Before Jin Chengyan can recover, the first demon of the Nine Realms steps forward, towering over him like an executioner. His body is already battered from the last attack, and the situation only grows worse. With no other choice, he summons his strongest ally. His Abyss summon shifts, evolving into the Abyssal Entangler, a level 61 monstrosity born from the evolution of the Abyssal Crawler. If escape is impossible, then he will fight until his last breath. The first demon of the Nine Realms wastes no time. It unleashes Bloodblade Claw, swinging 5 massive blood-infused claws at blinding speed. The attack tears straight through the Abyssal Entangler, shredding apart like paper. The sheer force of the strike amplifies its power further, increasing its damage strength by 200% for the next 12 seconds. Jin Chengyan watches in horror as his strongest summon is obliterated in an instant. His confidence crumbles. His mind screams at the realization this level of power isn't just overwhelming, it is the kind that can shake entire nations. The Abyssal Entangler, a creature powerful enough to dominate most battlefields, didn't even survive a single hit. Panic sets in. Survival is the only thought left in his head. He needs to escape. Death isn't an option. He has too much to lose. He tries to convince himself that he is still the pride of the Taiki Kingdo. The first demon of the Nine Realms doesn't let him finish. A massive palm swings down, crushing his head with a sickening impact. Jin Chengyan is flattened on the spot, his existence erased without fanfare. From a short distance away, Lu Fan remains seated, relaxed, surrounded by his dragon ladies. His expression doesn't change as he watches everything unfold. His voice carries no arrogance, only calm certainty. He never cheated. Every beast he hunted, every puppet he created was through his own effort. The results speak for themselves. Musashi stands frozen, his mind barely processing what just happened. His body is already wounded, his strength fading, but his pride refuses to let him back down. Fear grips him, but he pushes past it. He forces himself to stand tall, yelling that he won't fall. He is the top young master of Sakura Nation, a future powerhouse destined to rise above all others. This cannot be his end. Purple aura flares around him as he roars in defiance. His energy surges as he releases Ghost Scythe Demon Slash, sending a high-speed rotating wind blade slicing through the battlefield. It tears through the air, cutting everything in its path. The second demon of the Nine Realms doesn't even flinch. The attack is meaningless. It moves swiftly, his body coiling around Musashi before he can react. The crushing force tightens, bones snapping under the immense pressure. Musashi gasps, struggling against the inevitable. His final words slip out in disbelief. He can't accept this. His body goes limp. His name becomes nothing more than a footnote in history. Lu Fan glances at his screen, a smirk playing on his lips. He muses aloud about how everyone claims to be the future world's #1, but so far, just summoning a few beasts has been enough to wipe out his opponents. It is almost too easy, and he can't help but feel a little smug about it. But then he notices something odd. His points haven't increased. He frowns, confused. He wonders why there are no added points, and if the system glitched, or if he accidentally hit some kind of humble mode where he doesn't get credit for his wins. Then it hits him. He remembers the annoying ability of Jin Chengyan to revive through summoned beasts, and of course Musashi-ten has the same trick up his sleeve. Lu Fan sighs, realizing his opponents aren't truly defeated yet. They're like those annoying video game bosses that keep coming back no matter how many times you think you've beaten them. Lu Fan shakes his head, muttering to himself about how these guys are like cockroaches, hard to kill and always popping up where you least expect them. But he's not worried. If anything, it just means he gets to crush them all over again. And this time, he'll make sure they stay down. Soon, in the National Trial Secret Realm, amidst the endless dunes of the 10,000 miles of sand desert, Jin Chengyan and Musashi spring back to life thanks to the Abyss symbiosis ability of Jin Chengyan. A notification flashes on the screen, reminding them that split hibernation has only 5 uses left. Musashi coughs and sputters, clearly disoriented but quickly realizing he's alive again. He marvels at the revival, declaring it amazing and boasting that they no longer have to fear death. Jin Chengyan, however, isn't as thrilled. He shuts down Musashi's excitement with a dose of reality, pointing out that Lu Fan still has 3 9-realm demons and an entire army at his disposal. Reviving multiple times won't mean much if they can't actually defeat Lu Fan. Jin Cheng'en also reminds Musashi that they only have 5 uses of split hibernation left, and one was already wasted during their first encounter. Musashi grumbles about the loss, but Jin Cheng'en brushes it off, stressing that they can't afford to be reckless. He suggests they find another untouched Dark Spire to investigate how Lu Fan managed to tame the 9-realm demons. After all, Lu Fan is just a dragon tamer. Taming demonic beasts shouldn't be in his skill set. If he can do it, Jin Cheng'en is confident he can too. Musashi agrees, though his enthusiasm is tinged with urgency. They need to figure out a way to take down Lu Fan within their remaining 5 lives. The clock is ticking and the desert sands aren't getting any friendlier. Jin Cheng'en, ever the strategist, is already plotting their next move, while Musashi is just hoping they don't run out of lives before they run out of ideas. Musashi suddenly feels an overwhelming weakness wash over him. He stumbles, confused and frustrated, wondering aloud why he feels so drained. A notification pops up informing him of his weakened state, which will last for 9 more minutes. Jin Cheng'en explains that this is normal after reviving. His health and energy are at rock bottom, and it'll take about 10 minutes to recover fully. Panic sets in as Musashi realizes the danger they are in. Being this weak means they are completely exposed. Jin Cheng'en, trying to keep things under control, reassures him that there's no need to rush. Moving carefully toward the Dark Spire near the ultimate mission is the safest option for now. Before either of them can take another step, a flaming axe hurtles toward them at terrifying speed. It crashes straight into the skull of Musashi and obliterates his head in an instant. His body collapses lifelessly onto the sand, blood pooling beneath him. Jin Cheng'en stands frozen, his mind refusing to accept what just happened. Slowly, he turns his head and sees Musashi's headless corpse lying beside him. He turns to see Ander, the flame warrior from Snow Country, standing there with a grin on his face. Ander casually retrieves his axe, clearly pleased with his handiwork. The brute wastes no time in mocking them, calling it sheer luck that he stumbled upon 2 easy targets in this godforsaken desert. He looks Jin Cheng'en straight in the eye, recognizing him immediately, and reminds him of the warning he gave before, "Don't let me see you in the secret realm." Jin Cheng'en's mind races. This is bad. Running into Ander while still in a weakened state is the worst possible scenario. The system notification taunts him, reminding him that his weakness will last for 6 more minutes. Meanwhile, Ander's stats flash on the screen, showcasing his terrifying power. Rank 2, level 61 Flame Warrior with a staggering 239,758 points. Andra, clearly enjoying himself, taunts Jin Cheng'en further, asking if he and Musashi were just pigging in the sand and playing whack-a-mole. Jin Cheng'en, though weakened, knows he has to think fast. Andra is a brute, but he's also a brute with a flaming axe and a knack for terrible timing. And as Andra looms closer, Jin Cheng'en's mind races for a plan. Running isn't an option in his current state, and fighting is just as risky. All he can do is hope his wit is sharper than Andra's axe, at least for the next 6 minutes. Andra stands in his flame god avatar, fully enveloped in the blazing might of the superior flame god Sverog. This form amplifies all of his attributes by 100%, granting him monstrous strength and speed. A pair of fiery wings spread behind him, allowing him temporary flight, their duration depending on his spirit attribute. Wasting no time, he launches himself at Jin Cheng'en, his laughter booming across the desert like a war drum. The so-called prince of the Jin family barely has a moment to process what's coming before realization dawns. This is the end. His body is still weakened from revival. Escape is impossible. Andra, completely enjoying himself, closes in without hesitation. His axe swings engulfed in magma like fire, and the impact is instant. The moment the attack lands, Jin Cheng'en is nothing more than a pile of ashes and regrets. With his enemies wiped out, Andra stands tall, satisfied with his handiwork. His gaze shifts toward his point screen, expecting a well-earned reward. But something feels off. The participant count hasn't changed. His points remain exactly the same. Something isn't right. 10 days later, it is day 14 of the national trial. Excitement fills the Golden Jade City National Trial Arena as the tournament reaches a critical moment. One of the commentators, barely containing his enthusiasm, announces the latest developments. The 14th day of the national trial, hosted by the ever-scheming Taiki Kingdom, nears its end, and the tension in the air is undeniable. Meanwhile, in Dragon Capital Academy No. 2 Villa, Lu Fan's aunt and friends watch the live broadcast of the event. Their eyes remain glued to the screen, witnessing history unfold in real time. The commentator declares this as the most brutal competition in history, with a record-breaking number of deaths. Out of the 23 participants, nearly half have been wiped out, with 11 dead and 2 surrendering. Only 10 contenders remain, and the top 5 have already secured their ranks, leaving little room for surprises. Meanwhile, at the Dragon Capital Academy, classmates of Lu Fan from the combat class stay glued to their phones. Likewise, Du Tujing is watching the transmission from his office at the extreme north border camp. The commentator announces that collecting points through missions and monster hunting has lost all significance. The only way to shift the rankings now is through direct combat, hunting down the competition. Musashi 10, the representative from Sakura Country, clings to 5th place with 460,000 points, barely keeping himself relevant. A step ahead, Prince Jin Chenghan of Taiki Kingdom holds 4th place with 510,000 points, keeping a safe but not so impressive lead. Andre of Snow Country occupies 3rd place with 680,000 points, though his current priorities suggest he has already given up. Instead of preparing for battle, Andre is stretching out lazily on the lush green grassland, basking in the breeze as if he has wandered into a vacation spot instead of a deadly competition. With that attitude, it is no wonder he lost his grip on 2nd place after only 4 days. Charles from Starstrip Country has taken that position, surpassing Andre without much effort. Unlike the loud and flashy competitors, Charles moves in silence, rarely showing his hand. That doesn't make him any less dangerous, though. His rise to 2nd place comes at the expense of 5 fallen participants, each one hunted down without mercy. Standing amidst lifeless bodies, Charles rests his hand on a cross, his cold, calculating mind focused on his next target. His search nears its end, and if his trail of destruction is anything to go by, finding this mystery person won't be good news for them. But all of this pales in comparison to the one competitor who has completely shattered the rankings. The commentator finally announces the name that overshadows the rest, Lu Fan. The representative from Dragon Country doesn't just lead, he dominates. With a staggering 7 million points, he sits at the top like a final boss, making everyone else look like they showed up just to fill the numbers. Meanwhile, Lu Fan is deep inside another dark spire and is cutting through waves of monsters without breaking a sweat. His kill count has already reached absurd levels, yet he shows no signs of slowing down. The battlefield shifts, leading him to the National Trial Secret Realm, Lava Volcano, the dark spire of the Earth Fury Demon. A notification pops up confirming his latest achievement. The epic boss, Earth Fury Demon of the 9 Realms, a level 85 beast, has been slain. This marks the fall of the 9th and final 9 Realm Demon. Another screen flashes announcing Xiao Ye, the Black Dragon, has reached level 38. The creature lets out a triumphant roar, shaking the surroundings with its presence. His own level jumps to 41, further solidifying his already ridiculous power. With a smirk, he acknowledges that his collection is finally complete. Every single one of the 9 realm demons has been tamed, and his undead army stands on the brink of perfection. More notifications follow. The Starry Dragon climbs to level 29, while Xiaofei, the Jade Dragon, advances to level 35. Meanwhile, his points skyrocket past the competition, reaching an overwhelming 7,012,510 with an additional 4,440,955 stacked on top. Lined up before him, the 9 realm demons radiate an overwhelming aura, their combined presence enough to suffocate anyone foolish enough to stand in their way. With unwavering loyalty, they stand at attention, ready to obey his every command. Another notification pops up, informing him of a new development. Xiaofei has unlocked a fresh ability, Dragon Domain. Lu Fan narrows his eyes at the screen, intrigued. His Jade Dragon just picked up something new, and judging by its name, it isn't anything ordinary. The system provides a detailed explanation of the new ability. Dragon Realm grants the power to establish a Dragon Clan domain with a 100-meter diameter. Within this space, all dragons and those sharing their bloodline receive a massive 50% boost to all attributes. Meanwhile, non-dragons and outsiders without a shared bloodline suffer a crippling 50% reduction in all attributes. Worse for them, the domain completely locks movement, teleportation, and summoning, turning it into an inescapable battlefield. Xiaofei shifts uncomfortably, standing beside Lu Fan with the curiosity of a child trying to understand their newfound power. Meanwhile, his mind races as he pieces together the implications of this ability. The Dragon Clan's domain, this effect could be game-changing. A 50% boost to all stats is already absurd, but the real nightmare for his enemies lies in its isolation effect. Jin Chengyan immediately comes to mind. That slippery nuisance relies on summoning the Abyss Entangler, but within the Dragon Realm, he wouldn't even have the option. Even death wouldn't grant him an escape since the ability prevents teleportation. This time, there would be no second chances. Lu Fan sees the perfect opportunity to erase that unkillable cockroach once and for all. He pats her head and acknowledges her contribution. The battle against Jin Chengyan is no longer a matter of if but when. Xiao Fei, now slightly flustered but clearly pleased, basks in the praise, knowing that its power just became one of his deadliest weapons. Lu Fan glances at the screen and notices something unusual. Someone has decided to hunt him. A system warning flashes, confirming that he has officially become a hunting target. Instead of feeling concerned, he smirks. If someone is foolish enough to come after him, it only means one thing: more points are about to flood into his account. Meanwhile, in the National Trial's secret realm, Volcano, Charles grips a glowing orb, activating the latest mission. His eyes narrow as he realizes that the rumors are true. The system confirms the task, labeling it as the ultimate hunt for rank 1 LPVP. A smug grin creeps across his face. This must be the method chosen to remove the top-ranked competitor. Two figures emerge from the shadows behind him. One of them questions whether he can truly take down Lu Fan. Charles barely acknowledges the doubt, brushing it off with confidence. If they didn't believe in his strength, they never would have allied with him in the first place. Jin, Changyan, and Musashi step forward, both carrying a mix of awe and concern. Jin Changyan recalls how much effort it took him and Musashi to bring down the lava giant. 3 powerful skills were needed, yet Charles shattered the beast with a single strike. His original plan had been to use the ultimate hunt task against Charles, but now he realizes how laughably naive that idea was. Despite trusting Charles' abilities, Jin Changyan remains uneasy. Even with all 3 of them working together, the chances of defeating Lu Fan seem slim. Musashi, still haunted by past encounters, reminds them that Lu Fan has already subdued the 9 realms' demons and commands an entire army. Their previous battle against him wasn't just a loss, it was complete humiliation. Charles, ever the arrogant opportunist, dismisses their concerns with another grin. He doesn't see the accomplishment of Lu Fan as impressive, only as an exploitation of external power. In his mind, subduing the 9 realms' demons is nothing special. He could do the same if he wanted to. Charles claims that none of it comes from his own abilities. Instead, he insists that Lu Fan has been exploiting loopholes to manipulate other powers. Jin Changyan, still grasping for understanding, questions what Charles means by other powers. Charles smirks, as if he's been waiting for this moment. He reminds them of the lingering mystery: how exactly did Lu Fan manage to control the 9 realms' demons and farm points so efficiently? Without giving an immediate answer, he teases them further, promising to reveal the truth in 3 minutes. Meanwhile, at the National Trial Arena Management Control Center, the subordinates of Jin Zan engage in nervous chatter. One of them brings up the elephant in the room. Mr. Kim hasn't contacted them since he teleported back. A wave of anxiety washes over them as the realization sinks in. If something went wrong, their jobs might be on the line. The balding subordinate, unwilling to entertain bad omens, warns the others not to jinx it. He clings to the hope that Mr. Kim simply handled things on his own. Until further orders arrive, their priority remains the same: keep an eye on Lu Fan and avoid unnecessary trouble. Before they can relax, the subordinate in sunglasses spots something, or rather someone. A woman dressed in black materializes before him, a brief flicker in his vision. He barely has time to register her presence before she vanishes again. Confusion settles in, and he wonders if he imagined it. The balding subordinate, unaware of the looming danger, turns toward his distracted colleague, growing irritated at the lack of response. But before he can finish his sentence, the answer comes in the form of cold steel. The woman reappears behind him, her knife slicing cleanly through his throat in a single motion. A wet gurgle escapes him as he collapses to the ground, choking on his own blood. The subordinate in sunglasses whirls around, his mind failing to process the sudden carnage. Panic seizes him as he watches his colleague writhing in a pool of red. Words stumble out of his mouth, broken and shaky, but he doesn't get far. The woman is already behind him, her blade pressing against his throat. Her cold warning leaves no room for negotiation: stay silent or suffer an even worse fate. Terror floods his eyes, his lips trembling as he begs for mercy. His pleas never reach completion. The knife moves swiftly, silencing him with a deep, merciless cut. Blood sprays as his body convulses, collapsing just like the first victim. Her phone rings, and without hesitation, she answers. The voice on the other end reminds her that time is almost up. Keeping her composure, she reassures them before turning her attention to the tangled mess of cables and wires in the control center's supercomputer. With a firm grip, she yanks out a thick bundle, effortlessly tearing through the heart of the system. A smirk forms on her lips as she confidently declares the success of her mission. The Morgan family never fails. The effects hit instantly. The entire transmission of the competition cuts off, plunging the audience into chaos. Confusion spreads like wildfire. Panic rises among the spectators as they scramble to understand what just happened. The management staff, scrambling just as much as the audience, fumbles to keep control. Desperation seeps into their voices as they attempt to reassure everyone. Their excuse is as flimsy as their confidence. Technical issues? Yes, just some minor technical issues. Everything will be fixed soon, they insist, urging the crowd to remain patient. The spectators, however, are not buying it. Murmurs grow into loud complaints. Outrage fills the arena as people demand answers. The live stream has gone down, the signal is cut, and no one has a clue why. Some question whether a power outage is to blame, while others demand to know who's in charge of fixing this mess. Frustration mounts as one particularly impatient voice complains about missing the words of the star-striped country's representative. In a quieter corner, the vice principal of Dragon Capital Academy leans toward Elder Han, suspicion evident in his tone. He immediately points the finger at Takey Country, assuming they must be behind this sudden disruption. Elder Han, ever the composed strategist, doesn't dismiss the possibility but reminds him that the star-striped country isn't to be underestimated either. Whatever is happening, one thing is certain: this is no accident. In another room, an official turns toward Mr. Jin, expecting him to take charge of the situation. But before he can even finish his sentence, he realizes something is off. Mr. Jin isn't there. Confusion flashes across his face as he glances around. His eyes dart from one side of the room to the other, yet the man in charge is nowhere to be seen. His colleague shrugs and casually mentions that someone had called Mr. Jin away just moments ago. Meanwhile, at the far end of the corridor outside the war room, Jin Zan stands before Mr. Morgan. A hint of impatience creeps into his voice as he questions the man's unusual silence. Morgan had claimed he wanted to discuss something important, yet now he stands there saying nothing. Mr. Morgan finally speaks, his tone calm and unsettling. He repeats the same phrase his family is known for: the Morgan family never fails. He reminds Jin Zan that he only asked for 3 minutes of his time, yet he has no actual business to discuss. Jin Zan's frustration spikes. He demands to know if this is some kind of joke. With everything happening, he has no time for pointless games. Morgan, unfazed by the outburst, simply checks an imaginary clock and announces that the 3 minutes are up. His words carry an eerie finality. With a polite farewell, he dismisses Jin Zan entirely, as if he had only been a minor inconvenience. Back with the trio of self-important fools, Musashi stares at Charles in shock. His mind struggles to process what he just heard. The idea that Lu Fan could have become a servant of the fallen corpse ancient god, using its power to control the Nine Realms' demons, sounds too absurd to be real. Jin Chenghen, equally baffled, voices his disbelief. The existence of ancient beings and the blessings of ancient gods belong in fairy tales, not reality. The sheer scale of such power feels impossible to grasp. Charles, ever the arrogant know-it-all, claims that their skepticism is natural. The power of the ancient gods is beyond imagination. A single wisp of it, regardless of a person's original strength, is enough to cause an overwhelming transformation. Unlike the others, he acts as if he holds the secrets of the universe in the palm of his hand. To prove his point, he reveals a glowing object, the Holy Mountain Essence, granted to him by his so-called master. 3 shivering crystals radiate golden light, their glow making Musashi's eyes widen in awe. The mere presence of the essence exudes a strength that feels almost indescribable. The system immediately registers the item, identifying it as Holy Mountain Essence, legendary quality. However, its exact consumable effect remains unknown. Jin Chenghen, still trying to make sense of it, quickly realizes the sheer scale of what he's looking at. This power surpasses anything the Nine Realms' demons could ever provide. If Charles' strength comes from these essences, then their true potential must be beyond reason. Charles bursts into laughter, relishing their amazement. He clarifies that not all 3 are for him. 2 of them are meant for Musashi and Jin Chenghen. Jin Chenghen tenses at the offer. The idea of receiving something this powerful, capable of reshaping their very abilities, immediately raises suspicions. There has to be a catch. Musashi, no stranger to shady deals, shares the same concern. A rare item like this, one that grants a stronger hidden class, isn't something anyone would hand over for free. The real question isn't what the essence does, it is what Charles expects in return. Charles wastes no time getting to the point. This isn't some generous gift, it is a transaction. In exchange for the power of the Holy Mountain Essence, they must accept his master's baptism. With this, they gain strength beyond their current limits, while the Morgan family gains the right to explore the ancient gods hidden within Takey and Sakura country. Jin Chenghen weighs the offer carefully. He reflects that he is a prince and assumes the Morgan family wouldn't dare deceive him. The part about exploring ancient gods is of little concern for now. What matters is the immediate power boost. With this essence, they won't have to crawl behind Lu Fan any longer. Musashi hesitates, unsure whether to agree. The offer sounds tempting, but the implications are heavy. He turns to Jin Chenghen for guidance, hoping for a more rational perspective. Jin Chenghen doesn't hesitate. Without a second thought, he declares his acceptance and snatches one of the essence crystals from Charles' hand. If Lu Fan can wield the power of an ancient god, then so can they. The moment Lu Fan is eliminated, the Morgan family can meet with the Jin family to negotiate their so-called exploration. Without any more delay, he consumes the crystal. The effects hit instantly. His body surges with golden energy, rage fueling his transformation. Power floods his veins as he clenches his fists, basking in his newfound strength. Musashi watches in disbelief, still struggling to process the situation. Seeing Jin Chenghen consumed by his desire to surpass Lu Fan, he hesitates for only a moment longer before making his decision. Even if he doubts the Morgan family's true intentions, refusing now could leave him weaker than his allies. Charles doesn't give him much time to think. Holding out the remaining crystal, he reminds Musashi that the outside world will soon witness their transformation. If he doesn't act now, this opportunity will slip through his fingers. Under pressure, Musashi finally reaches for the crystal. Though uncertainty lingers in his mind, he follows Jin Chenghen's lead and accepts the deal. Charles watches with satisfaction, amused by how easy it is to manipulate their desperation. He warns them not to resist the transformation. The more they submit to the change, the stronger his master can make them. He glances at the last remaining crystal and smirks. This one isn't meant for allies, it is a special gift for Lu Fan. Not to empower him, but to turn him into a mindless puppet of the Holy Mountain. His laughter echoes through the room, dripping with arrogance. In his mind, Lu Fan's fate is already sealed. And that was it for today. I hope you liked today's video, and if you did, hit that like button, as today's like goal is 1,500 likes. Comment next part down below if you want to see what happens next. Also, consider subscribing with the notification bell on to get notified as soon as a new video drops onto the channel. You can also join the channel to support me financially and watch videos before their public release. I'll meet you in the next video. Until then, thanks for watching.